Hello everyone. I have been patiently walking alongside all of you, my dear friends, all of you who are getting on in years for a very long time. Recently, there have been many clips, men posts, and shares all aimed at helping us maintain our peace of mind, improve our health, and better our lives so that we can live peacefully and happily. And today, I want to share a topic with you all. Once you're over 60 years old, don't think about the following things so you can find peace of mind. You see, back in the day, the age of 60 was considered to be quite old. In the countryside back then, you would have already joined the Elders Association, officially become an elder, and paid dues for the occasional get-together of the Senior Citizens Club. So, being over 60 was old age. But with the socio-economic development of today, we, those of us who are 60 or over 60, are still healthy. We can eat well, speak well. We can still go to work. We can still love, and we can still contribute to society. However, we cannot fight against the eternal law of nature. No one stays young forever. Everything has its time. And let's remind ourselves that we are over 60 now. Let's let go of the following 5 things, shall we? First, let's not place so much importance on money anymore. Remember, this isn't the age to be greedy for money. When we were young, we tried to hustle and work hard so that we wouldn't struggle in our old age. But even if you didn't hustle when you were young, at this point, nobody really gets rich at this age. Unless, of course, one of you had parents who left you a huge piece of land. And then that land happens to be in an area that gets rezoned. They compensate you with money, maybe a few $1,000,000. Then it's possible to get a large sum at this age. But as for making a living through normal work, trying to get rich at this stage is just too difficult. You know, for most people who work for the government, this is also the age of retirement. But for those of you who don't work for the government, at this age, even if you wanted to do construction work, no one would hire you. People over 60 doing construction. What if you accidentally trip over one thing and fall over another? Then, who would be able to compensate you? At a stretch, you might be able to work on a farm. Working on your own family's land would still be doable. And with things being the way they are, the real purpose isn't to earn money. It's to stay active, just to keep yourself more energetic and healthier. Because at this age, if you're working, it's not for the money. So keep in mind that we shouldn't be weighed down by money matters anymore. If you were going to worry, you should have worried earlier. But not at this age. Okay. The second thing for us to live a peaceful and happy life is that we must know how to let go of the past. Don't get bogged down by the past. We just sit there, and for one thing, it's because. No, it's not. Because of earning money. So keep in mind that you shouldn't be weighed down by money matters anymore. If you are going to worry, you should have done it sooner, but not at this age, okay? The second thing for us to live a peaceful and happy life is that we must know how to let go of the past. Don't get bogged down by the past. We just sit there and, for one thing, we blame the past, saying how foolish we were. If only I'd known back when land was still cheap. If only I'd sold the car, or gathered up some gold, and bought a few plots of land, or invested in stocks. Then by now, double quotes. With land prices soaring, I'd be rolling in it. Who can predict what will happen? There are places where the land used to be out in the sticks. Who would have thought that 10, 15, or 20 years later, it would become an urban area, and you'd get compensated with billions, right? So that's why there's no use regretting it. Every era is different. So let's just accept that our fate, our luck, wasn't so great. Or we also find ourselves regretting, thinking, if only I hadn't taken early retirement back then, just stay at the company. The salary might be pretty good by now. How could we have known, right? If you could know everything in advance, then you'd be God. Some people just keep trying and trying. Then, right before retirement, the factory is dissolved. The plant is dissolved, merged, so you end up feeling lost and adrift in the last years of your life. At that time, for one reason or another, I asked for early retirement to make time to take care of my family. My kids were still young. I had to worry about the family. I also intended to open a small business of some kind to be independent. Well, That decision at the time was very forward-thinking. So now, things haven't turned out as I wished, but we shouldn't have any regrets. No use regretting things like, if only I'd married that girl back then, it would have been better. But instead, I went and married her. This woman now. And there's nothing great or interesting about it. What's the point of saying that? Even if it's not great or interesting. You've been together for 40 years. Why say such bitter words now? You can't change the reality of the situation. You're just sowing seeds of hatred and resentment. You're just sowing seeds of hatred and resentment. If you let it be, she'll still respect you. She'll still take care of you. But now, she'll start to think. At this age, and he's still pining for some girl from 40 years ago. Does that mean he thinks I'm worthless? Hey, you could easily find yourself out on the street tomorrow. And at this age, if your wife gives up on you, your children will blame you, and you'll be left with nothing good. That's why what's in the past should be left in the past. They say the past is a sacred temple. You can go back to that temple for a little peek every now and then, but that doesn't mean we should get lost in it. From time to time, we all look back to the past to reminisce a bit about old memories. But remember to savor them by yourself, okay? Or if you do share, do it only with your closest friends. For instance, visiting your old school, seeing your old teachers once in a while, or returning to your old hometown or an old battlefield, so that we can feel like we had a youth. A very meaningful one. That's all. Without any regrets or lingering on anything anymore. Close the door on the past to see the future. And as for our future, no one knows for sure if we have 10 or 15 years left or another 20 years. Because life is unpredictable. Right. So, just no more regrets or remorse about the past. The third thing is similar to not having regrets about the past. We shouldn't talk about our exes too much. An ex could be an ex or an ex-boyfriend. It could be the first wife you married, but weren't happy and ended up parting ways. Now you're married to this woman. Or for the ladies, it's the same thing. An ex could be your first husband, your second husband, or your third husband. We shouldn't bring that story up over and over again, regardless of whether we speak well of them or not. If you speak well of them, your current husband or wife will feel sad. But if you speak ill of them, it makes you seem ungrateful. Speaking badly about your ex is no different from speaking badly about yourself. That's why you shouldn't mention your ex anymore. Your ex belongs to the past. Abusive, and the second husband was infertile. You split up twice, and only now have you settled down. With this man, you have to remember to cherish the present. Live in the present. No matter how beautiful the past was, you can't go back. Don't bring up the story of how he used to be like this. He used to be like that. And then you bring up memories that will make the person living beside you feel hurt. And when that person feels hurt, then maybe one day they will too. If you tell stories about your ex, how your ex used to pamper you, how much they loved you, how he was the most handsome guy on the block, then who knows? One day, your husband might brag about how his first wife was such an amazing catch, how rich her parents were, the promises they made, giving him this and that sum of money. So, isn't that just a bad thing, right? Especially when it brings absolutely no benefit whatsoever. Don't share, don't talk about your ex-lover or your ex-wife or ex-husband. Of course, we're intelligent beings. No more one can forbid us from thinking things in our heads. But if you're going to think it, just keep it in your head. Don't say it out loud and hurt other people. Okay? Now, for the fourth point, which I think at the age group of over 60, like all of us here, you shouldn't be hungry for power anymore. People up. Say, the young aren't wise, the old aren't strong. That means when you're old, you don't have your health anymore. And if you're not healthy, even society allows you to retire. What's the point of wanting power and influence? Just participate in social activities. For fun? If you're invited to join the executive committee of, say, the neighborhood women's union, sure, go ahead. It's a chance to socialize with the other women, go places, attend trainings, meetings, and conferences to broaden your horizons a bit and keep your mind bright and sharp. Or maybe you're invited to a hunting or fishing club. Yeah, that's perfectly fine too. But there's no need to go around stirring up trouble. Don't be determined to become the president of the club and then start scheming to overthrow the current one. For this Senior Citizens Association, just so you can get that position. What's so prestigious or powerful about that? At our age, nothing is more valuable than your reputation and your honor. You might not be the president, but you have experience. You have a wealth of life wisdom. During the meetings or events of your organization, club, or group, when they need something, you can offer an idea. If you propose something that benefits the community, people will naturally look up to you. There, it's true. In terms of title, you might not be the president, but everyone will say, we have to ask him about everything. Oh, he's just wonderful, so lucid, so intelligent, and so creative. That's why, whenever he's involved in something, you can be sure everything will go smoothly. See, isn't that feeling a million times better? Right. Better than constantly craving this power and that authority, right? So please, let go of the need for power. The final point I want to share is this. Being 60 years old doesn't mean it's the end. For the ladies, you might go through menopause, but that doesn't mean your desire is gone. As for the men, you should keep it up if you're still able to. Being intimate with your spouse once a week is perfectly fine. And if some of you can manage a few times, that's fine too. Even if your health allows for 4 times, there's no rule saying you can't. Just don't get too carried away. As long as it's natural, there's no problem. It's the same with anything, really. We're like a machine, like a car that you bought 25 years ago and is now not to mention our own body's engine is already weak. And if you push it too hard, you'll be pushing up daisies. It's clunky. So if you're going to drive slowly. Don't try to go up steep hills. And don't shift gears too abruptly, or you might just flood the engine and stall. Don't be too greedy. Maintain a steady rhythm with a partner who's peaceful and safe, so you can feel at ease. But if you're constantly worrying that you're not providing this, or you can't satisfy that, and you have to eat this or drink that just to boost your stamina, many men at this age still think like that. They keep asking me, saying they want to buy ribbed condoms, studded condoms. So I ask them, good heavens, are you buying that for your wife? At her age, your wife would probably be scared to death. And the man says, no, it's for my girlfriend. My girlfriend is only 35 and I'm 60. I'm afraid she'll think I'm useless in bed. So I want to buy studded with thorns. I said, come on. If that woman had agreed with him, then it wouldn't be like this. Because you have studs or ribs. If she were a woman who craved sex, she wouldn't be with a 60-year-old man like you. She'd be with some young buck, some guy with a six-pack. The fact that she's with you, well, one possibility is that it's real love. But take a look and see. Every now and then, do you give her a bit of money? Every now and then, do you buy her gifts? Or something at our age. Don't be a dreamer. Don't think that you're still so attractive, that you're still handsome and have girls chasing after you. I don't know what kind of girls. But if they're too young, you also have to be very careful. Vigilance. They also have a desire for material gain. Secondly, it's for one reason or another. So please, don't be complacent. Let me repeat. Maintain the emotional bond with your spouse. Maintain the physical relationship between husband and wife. But don't be too greedy. Don't overexert yourself doing everything you can to have these wild or debauched parties. That affects your health. And if by some chance that affair is exposed, it will also affect our honor, our reputation in these final years of our lives. There's nothing worse than your children discovering that their old father is now seeing a mistress. Seeing some fling who is the same age as his own kids, the same age as his own grandchildren. Then, in the eyes of your children and grandchildren, they'll despise you. And it's not like you'll be strong and young forever to cater to her. In the end, the person who will be by your side is still your wife, along with your children and grandchildren. Try to live a life that is good, that is decent, so that you can receive the love and respect of your wife and children. The second topic I'd like to share with you all is 5 things that the less we have of them, the healthier our lives will be. Firstly, it's about having a healthy body, a relaxed mind, and enjoying time with your children and grandchildren, and just living life. That's all. As for all other worries, we should temporarily set them aside. Therefore, in this short talk today, I'll share with all of you 5 things that the less we have, the better we will live, comfortably and at ease. For older people, the very first thing to reduce, I think, is to stop worrying about the distant future, because there's a saying that goes like this: the past is gone, the future hasn't arrived, so who knows what to expect? Man proposes, God disposes. Right now, this year, you're or 65 or 70, who can be sure how much time you have left? So why are we still worrying about what might happen in 20 years or 30, what it'll be like in 10 years? The truth is, just try to worry about today. Your health is stable and you wake up to find your body is still strong. What does that mean? It means you have one more day to happily enjoy life. That's all. As for everything else, you all shouldn't worry about things like, where will I be in 20 years? By then, when I'm weak, what will happen to my house? And then you think about whether this house in 20 or 30 years will fall into disrepair. Then you start to worry. You save up and then you renovate it all over again. It's just too exhausting. So just stop. Worry less about the distant future. The future is for the young ones. We only have a little bit of the past that's gone and the present. As for everything else, just leave it all to fate. Heaven has a plan. You can't plan it all out. Anyway, the second thing that we need to do less of to make our lives lighter, and more peaceful is to stop nagging and interfering in the lives of our children and grandchildren. Because, now at our age, the people around US aren't that many anymore. Many people, many of our peers, have already retired. The workplace is gone, and so are most of our colleagues and army buddies. There aren't many left. Maybe you see your old classmates once a year during the new year, and your army buddies probably once every 2 years. Or for many of you, you might only join a gathering once every few years. Who do we have left around us? A few close relatives, uncles, aunts. They're all getting on in years, too. People our age are old now. Some have difficulty walking. Some are even hard of hearing. So, the people who are still around us are all precious. They are all to be cherished. Any child who lives with you, any grandchild who visits from time to time, should be deeply appreciated. Just love them. You shouldn't blame them by saying, "Why do you visit so rarely? It's been so long since your last visit," or "Stay a little longer. Why are you only staying for such a short while? I'm supposedly in the hospital, and I only get 1 day off." Remember that every second, every minute your children and grandchildren spend with you is something to be treasured and appreciated. Our children have their own jobs, Honestly, for those who are self-employed, it's a bit easier. Whether it's visiting their parents or dealing with a major family event, they can even take a whole week off without any issues. But for those who work for companies, corporations, or those kinds of agencies, they only get a few vacation days a year. Just saving up those days to take a break is already exhausting. Many people plan to go back to their hometown or take a trip for 10 or 15 days. To do that, they already had to save up their leave from 2 or 3 years combined. So, be as understanding as possible. Criticize less and nag less. That is something we should remember. The third thing that older people like us should stop doing is what? Interfere or dictate less. To be honest, someone like me, well, I don't think of myself as being that old yet. Sometimes I still think I'm pretty smart, that I'm still sharp. And if anyone criticizes me for being old-fashioned or behind the times, I'll get all defensive and argue. Go on! Try being as outdated as me. Try being as senile as me. But in reality, when I compare myself to my children and grandchildren, to the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, I realize that I really am old. There are so many things I can't keep up with. My stories are all stories from the old days. The experiences I have were all accumulated over 20 or 30 years. From the era of hardship, the early reform period, the Cold War era. But the kids nowadays, my goodness, from the moment they open their eyes, they live in an atmosphere. What do they breathe? They breathe the internet. They don't read books, but they know everything. With a phone in their hand, from heaven to earth, they know it all. With that kind of mindset, with that much information flowing in, it's certain that they will be more up to date on many things than we are. So, if you have to offer advice to your children and grandchildren, or if your kids happen to ask for your opinion, mostly out of respect when they ask, "So, what's a father's take on it?" Or, "Does mom have an opinion?" We should just be a little more yielding. Mom and dad are getting older now. I believe that you children will make your own decisions. I believe you two should just think it over. You'll probably make the right decision. I support you. Just one thing, don't be too extreme this way. And two, don't be too extreme that way. Just a few small suggestions. That's all. Nothing more. Some people, even at 65 or 70, still want to be in charge. They don't earn any money, but they order each child to send back $50,000 so I can renovate this house. Not all children are equally well off or wealthy, but the father just keeps issuing orders like that. And our kids, being good-natured, don't dare to argue. But they and their spouses just harbor this resentment inside. You can't even afford to eat, and you're still worried about saving face. You don't make any money, but you want to have the biggest house in the neighborhood, for instance. So, let's try to interfere less and give fewer orders. Okay, because our orders don't put food on the table. Sometimes they just create friction between our children and their spouses, destroying the unity between our children and grandchildren. We shouldn't do that. Just say something like, "Well, as a father, I have this wish. However, this depends on the support from you. My children, we have to cut our coat according to our cloth. Then, whichever child is better off can chip in a little more." We should just say it humbly like that. Don't issue a command. That way, we will have peace. So, the third reminder is, lesson what? Lesson ordering your children and grandchildren around. A fourth thing I'd like to share with all of you, if you want your life in old age to be peaceful, is to be less greedy for things that don't belong to you. In this life, we're already 60, 70 years old. Whatever we have right now is what we have. For example, what we might have right now is this small little house here, is to be less greedy for things that don't belong to you. In this life, we're already 60, 70 years old. Whatever we have now is what we have right now. For instance, let's say you have something, a small little house. You might have a wife or a husband and a child, a son and 2 grandchildren, or maybe 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. For example, let's just temporarily call those things yours. We just say that, but it's not even certain that they are yours. But anyway, at least you can still touch them, and you can live with them. You can see them every day. Buddha asked for dreaming that you could play Powerball or join some kind of thing, and suddenly you become a millionaire or become rich. That doesn't happen. The things like huge lumps of gold or those Powerball jackpots, they're not meant for. You dream all day. If only I could win. But if everyone who played also won, then who would dare to organize that game? Many people have to pool their money for one person to win. You see, things that aren't meant for you, you don't need them. Don't fight with your brothers and sisters, with your relatives, over a few centimeters of land. When parents divide land for the older and younger brother, each gets a plot, and the old folks just measure it out, roughly. That side over there is for the older one. This side here is for the youngest one. It's not like anyone took out measuring sticks and poles to do it. If the two brothers go and get it measured, it might be short on this side by 30 centimeters, and the other side might be over by 25 centimeters. And I think you should just be flexible. Tell each other to avoid fighting over every single centimeter of land. And then, if heaven unfortunately calls for your soul and you die, you'll leave empty-handed. No one can take a single thing with them. So, what should you cut back on? Be less greedy for things that don't belong to you. And I think the last thing to cut back on is going to negative places. A place where people viciously gamble against each other, or a place where they skip meals and responsibilities just to hang out, getting drunk, and then challenging each other. One person yells at another, "You're looking down on me. You disrespect me. You won't drink with me." There's always some issue with you when it comes to drinking. And then, after just a few drinks, some people who are usually very gentle suddenly look so aggressive. Then they start picking fights. Normally, they're like brothers. But once the alcohol kicks in, one person accuses the other of disrespecting them. The other one challenges back, "Yeah, so what if I am?" And then, there have been cases where they start fighting right there at the drinking party. What's so great or interesting about that? Or take this. For example, social media nowadays, it's flooded with information. There's negative information, and there's positive information. Of course, when it's information, it's good to be aware. But you also have to be selective. So, it's the same on social media. You folks should just browse the lighthearted stuff. Just read the news, that's a bit more cheerful. For example, that our province is ranked second in the entire country for the rate of students who get into university, so you can feel proud. Feel some joy. I have an older cousin. The past few days, his blood pressure shot up. And why is that? He was glued to his phone all day long. He was following the live reports of the court case about the rescue flights during the COVID epidemic. And then, whenever something came up in court, like how they argued or how they made excuses, and when he heard that they had pocketed hundreds of millions of dollars, oh my God, he would just fly into a rage, shouting, "They're such scumbags." And it's infuriating. And then he'd say he was going insane. So I had to step in. I had to calm him down. I told him, "Why are you getting so worked up? For the people who broke the law, just let the law handle it. All you need to know is that the law is being strictly enforced. There's a trial like that going on. You can just glance over it, and that's enough. But if you sit there and listen to every word of the lawyer's defense, listen to every testimony from those who are, let's say, the ones standing before the court, then, if you can't control your emotions, you'll feel very uncomfortable." That's why, on social media, or out in the real world, it's the same. Just choose the happy places. Choose the positive places. Do. Go. Stay away. And go to fewer negative places. Only by doing that can you keep your heart at peace. Therefore, for our lives to be whole, to be peaceful, to be happy, I ask all of you to please keep in mind the 5 things to reduce that I have just shared above. Goodbye, and see you all again.